Hi, and welcome to Outhouse 2.0. For those of you who watched my first videos or even just clicked on them, thank you so much. They were absolute junk. When I first started this venture, I really didn't think I would take it seriously. I had no niche in mind. I thought I was going to ramble on about all kinds of my hobbies, and I have quite a few, including 3D printing. But as I started printing, I realized I really do enjoy it. And since I've gotten my printer, I haven't really played any video games. I haven't played my guitars. I really do need to play my guitars. I need to move them in my room. I think I said that in another video. I can only play in my room for some reason. I don't play in the living room or anything like that. Anyway, this is one old man's diary about his journey to learn 3D printing and hopefully start a 3D printing business to supplement his income when he retires. Now, I am going to stick to the fact that I'm doing this also for my mental health. I suffer from depression and a few other things. I have Graves' disease, so my anxiety and stuff goes all over the place. My heart's fine, right? But with the Graves, when I spike, it does weird shit too. Pardon my French. I'm trying to keep it clean. Not that there's going to be kids watching or anything like that. I'm just trying to keep it clean. Sound a little more intelligent than I used to when I cursed a lot. Real quick, I do want to thank Grant at 3D Musketeers. I've been watching a lot of creators, and all of you guys are fantastic. But I want to say thank you to Grant at 3D Musketeers. I'm going to link his stuff down below when I learn how to do that. He's the only one who brought up mental health. He actually, and right then I was like, wow. As he was speaking before he brought up mental health, I felt a connection. And then all of a sudden he brought up, hey, mental health. And then he brought up the fact that sometimes therapy is cheaper than certain things. And there was a comment, therapy is the gun range, but with the cost of bullets, Grant's comment back was they cost about the same, right? And sometimes it does help to talk to somebody like I'm talking to you, right? That's why I'm doing this. This is my therapy. Again, I'm not sure if it was one of my prior videos, but I used to work at a dive bar, but I did have a pretty famous psychiatrist come in and drink, Dr. Frank, and I was his psychologist. Anyway, I don't want to ramble about that, but even doctors need crazy people like me, a crazy bartender, and a dive bar to talk to, and get their mind right. I'm doing this partially for that. Just like when I picked up the guitar again. I love guitars. I've always liked collecting them. I love the shape and all that. I'm a sucker for collecting stuff. You pick up something, ooh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And then you get all excited about it. You buy everything. You go crazy on the stuff. And then, you slowly stop. But I did play guitar every day for a year. And then I got that. Yeah, that. Right? And look at it. I'm slowly printing again. Some nights I feel so exhausted. I'm slow. I'm slow. Plus, it's been 100 degrees out here where I live, which kind of takes it out of you. And we do have a fire going. Thankfully, it's a ways from me, but unfortunately, it is affecting quite a few people. Last I checked, it was 4,800 acres. Anyway, moving on, moving forward with the channel. I am going to work on it. I do have somebody helping me a little bit because I want people to to watch this. I want people to engage with me. I want people to give me tips because my God, there's so much to learn. And I don't want to just, take prints off printable or pay somebody for their license. Obviously, I'm going to do that to start. I got to start selling. You got to start sometime, and that was it. Back to one of my first videos. I was living in another place closer to the beach, living with a friend and everything like that. And he's a good man, but he had something on TV all day and all night that just wow, wow. I sat in my room. I had to, played my guitar and did other things. So when he ended up retiring, and lucky him, and he has two places to go: Idaho and Michigan. Beauty, beauty. And I got my little outhouse out in the desert. But you know what? I'm so happy. I really am. Even though it's 100 degrees out, I used to ride bikes out here. I've been riding motorcycles. Well, it's been a long time since I've ridden, but I have friends. There's a memorial out on Lion's Head, for a lot of my friends who passed away. A lot of my friends are dead, but I left a lot of friends behind recently. With mental health, you sometimes have to let go of the past and move on yourself. If they are no longer fitting your mold, right? You got to move on, no matter how painful. No matter how painful, you can't just sit there and make conversation to make conversation, especially when it's not about something of interest to you, right? Nobody's interested in that thing. None of my, well, Dennis, oh, I shouldn't have said his name. Dang it. Anyway, he's not ever going to see this, but he would be, because he could make parts for his Crown Vic or something like that. And my other buddy, Fish, I will mention his name because one day I am going to drag him into the business because he's a fantastic artist. I just need to get him with the program. He sent me a piece of art he drew years and years ago for a band in Hawaii when he lived in Hawaii. And I told him it's going to be really hard to print. It just is. It's really noisy. So I uploaded it and kind of used AI to, I didn't, his art it's noisy, it's wonderful, but it's noisy. So I uploaded it and then I tried to show him even as a flat piece, it just does not work. And his name's Fish for a reason. He fishes like nobody's business. He draws fish wonderfully. He does, and I told him concentrate on fish. And I'll come out with articulating fish, but with your paint design and your snarling mouth, and stuff like that. But he's a punk rocker, and basically fuck that noise. And I can't say as I blame him. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Um, but I'm starting a business. I have to take it seriously. I have to sell what people want, right? Sometimes it's build it and they will come, but most of the time it's find something, improve it, and then maybe you'll sell some. I do have some ideas of my own. Nothing fancy. And to be honest with you, I'm going to have to license them because they're easily. And even if I do, somebody's going to copy them anyway and change them up just a little bit because I'm not an engineer. I'm just not. And I do have some mechanical ideas for the bike behind me back there. You know, or something for a guitar or a gun. But really, at first, excuse me, I'm going to have to rely upon other people's designs. Now, I'm not afraid of competition. I agree with Grant. As far as pricing goes, you guys, everybody out there selling, all you printers, stop. Stop selling at a discount. My God. You're programming these people to pay McDonald's prices, and this is not freaking McDonald's. It's not. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody. It's not easy. I'm not dumb. I've gotten dumber as I've gotten older, but I'm pretty good at technology, and it's not easy. So charge for what you know. Quit charging $10. My God, what do you make on a print? I just realized the other day that Orca Slicer kind of tells me how much it cost me to make a print, right? And I forget what I was printing. I looked down, wow, that's going to cost $4. What's my price on that after all the nonsense? I got to, I add $15. So $20, right? And if nobody buys, then you lower it a little bit. Better to start high. My God, you people coming in and just trying low and undercutting everybody does everybody a disservice. It really does, including yourself, because somebody's going to come in and undercut you. And that's what we're all trying to sustain. And we can. And we can. Do you understand? On YouTube, there are billions of people watching you right now. And if you want to ship internationally, my God, the market's unlimited. Even in America, how many people watch YouTube? It's the number one station. So why? Why are you? And I don't bag. I don't want to bag on China. Actually, right now they're in better shape than we are. They incarcerate less people. Their economy's better. I don't believe what you see in the news. I know somebody that lived there for a lot of years, Hong Kong and mainland. It's not what you see. It really isn't. But I don't want to touch on that. I do have a new printer coming. Yeah, an 85X. I stayed up until midnight, June 9th. I did. And at midnight, I started looking and it wasn't available. It wasn't available. At 10 minutes after midnight, boom, I got me one. I didn't want to miss out. I want to get into four color printing. If I want to be competitive, I need a four color printer for some prints, but mostly I need a printer that can handle that much filament and not run out. Let's say I have one design that just goes off. That's not going to handle it. That'll print some stuff depending on the size of the print, but if I'm printing mass, I want a printer that can go. So, and at the price, my God, they're unbeatable. They really are unbeatable. And I'm not going to jump on the whole bamboo bandwagon. Grant is right. When I started doing research on the new models, right away I saw that they're going to try and start their own ecosystem like Apple. What a joke! I don't own an Apple. I want an Android. I want open source. I want all the talented people in the world to be able to create and help me. I don't, man, brain drain and all this. And Grant's right. They're going away from right to repair. It's time for a revolt. We control the purse strings. Without us, none of these companies exist. Exert your pressure. Boycott. Don't. I'm not saying don't. If bamboo's your thing, I'm just going to put that out there. I don't want lawyers knocking on my door. I gave up a really high-powered attorney friend, and he defended Disneyland and NFL teams and stuff like that. But we didn't see things change. Anyway, I don't want a lawsuit. So you do what you want. It's just really think about it. Do you really want to be locked down to use their stuff all the time? Therefore, no. And actually, on Flashforge, if they start locking stuff down, I'm out. I'll go Sobol. Can't afford Prusa, but I like to tinker. I'll go Sobol. I'm just saying. If I can get three printers that work and I got to tinker with one, no big deal. And from what I've been seeing, I can print certain parts for it, just like a Prusa. I wish I could afford a Prusa. I'm not ever going to be ever. Not. I'm not even going to try. And bear with me just a moment. I do want to thank somebody else here, and I should have had these written down. Next time, honestly, I will. For those of you, and I'm going to thank a couple of people every video moving forward that I feel helped me, not just in the 3D printing journey, but also on the YouTube journey. Because I had been thinking about YouTube for a little while as well. A little about me. I'm older. I'm an old punk rocker. And sometimes I just can't take it. I can't. Nobody in this country wants to accept responsibility for their own actions anymore. They just don't. They want to blame everybody. You guys. Hey, I didn't build that car. Hey, I'm not the company. I didn't raise those rates. I can try and help you, but stop with the nonsense and call me names. I didn't break your car. You bet you're a Chrysler. No, we bought the car from Chrysler or whoever I was working for at the time, right? Unfortunately, this country has an exceptionalism problem. It really, really does. And it's sad. We used to be nice. After World War II and in the 60s and even into the 70s, I remember people waving at each other. Hey, how you doing? Neighbors coming over. It was a community. I'll get back to who I was going to thank in a minute. It really was. Basically almost everybody was an immigrant, so they had that immigrant mentality. And the war, some of them were World War II veterans or Korean War veterans or Vietnam War veterans, so they had that sense of teamwork. And we would help each other roofing or whatever. Many was a Saturday, my Isuzu. Yes, I had an Isuzu, and God, I love that thing. It was a 1-ton with an 8-foot bed. I would wake up on a Saturday morning and it would be full of stuff when I was a teenager. And they would say, hey, You're going to the dump today. I had no choice. So I would go. Anyway, my tangent, what I'm getting back at is we're a community. And if we don't work together, we're bound to fail. Businesses work together, they work together against us, right? They think they're the kings. They're not. Where's the money come from? If they bleed us dry, where's it come from? Right? I'm just saying. So, use your dollars wisely. I do. I boycott companies. And there's certain companies I'm not going to mention that I haven't spent a dollar at in years. There are certain platforms I won't use, because I don't want to be the product. And they're tainted. They'll do anything. They've sold their souls. Something I never did. And I'm just going to admit it. I've been fired many a time. I have. One, I got a problem with authority. Two, I will not give up my ethics and morals for you or your company. End of story. What benefit do I get out of that? You could turn around and fire me 2 days later, use me as a scapegoat. Right now, yeah, I'm just going to take my lumps and move on. That's another thing. Take your lumps, own it, own your mistakes. Let that sink in. Don't blame somebody else. Own your mistakes. I've made a lot of them, but I've also taken my lumps because you have to. I'm not saying in every situation, I haven't told a white lie here or a white lie there, but if it's something big, I right away, I did it in meetings and stuff. That was me. I'm not going to sit and let people sit there and think, oh, who was it? Was it me? I'm too old for that nonsense. My God. And usually I'm a good worker, right? So, and if they got a problem with me owning my mistake or the way I go about doing it, well, I'm not a good fit there then, right? And I'll take my services elsewhere. It's hard, and I'm going to say it is hard for a person, man or woman, in their late 40s, 50s, and 60s to find a job when they lose one. Thank God I know a few things, and I do know a few people. And right now, I like my job. I look at documents all day, but I like it. I am the robot. They know that. I move to whatever team needs the most help, and they know that. I don't do the email. Other people cover most of the emails and stuff like that. I do answer emails occasionally, but my job is to produce, and that's what I do. And I'm going to produce once I learn. Now, I want to go back to Grant. He said something, and you guys who are just starting out, Grant at 3D Musketeers, watch his videos, okay, because he makes a lot of sense. And again, I am going to mention other people. Let me, his name's Sam. Bear with me. I want to find him. Oh my, I am so sorry, Sam. I should have, and it's probably okay. That was pretty unprofessional. Like I said, from now on, I'm going to write down people I'm going to mention. Sam Craft. I was right. Sam was in the name. I grew up next to a Sam, but her name was actually Barbara Jean, but she went by Sam. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Uncle Richard, he never had a boy, but he really did from another lady. And we met Richard Jr. later in life. So my neighborhood, God, they were awful landers, including my dad. My God. We won't get into that. I felt bad for all the women, but Sam Craft. Now stinking thinking, right? No more stinking thinking. If you're sitting on a fence and you're older and you're working for somebody, just know what are they doing for you, right? Yeah, they may be paying the bills or anything, but honestly, they're looking at a way to cut costs and cut you. They could probably bring in somebody cheaper, especially if you're in an industry that requires any kind of knowledge. Again, sorry for the drink. This has been a lot longer than I thought, but I think it's going to be a good video. Me scratching my head. I'll get over that. I'll stop doing that as well. And the longer I go, the better I get. It's just how it's going to be. I'm going to keep making videos, and they're going to keep getting better and better and better. I do want to talk real quick about Flashforge's customer service. I left a 4-star review, and their after sales team reached out to me, which I think is fantastic. I really do. And they said, "Hey, why'd you leave a 4-star review?" And I wanted to leave 4.5 stars, not four, because the printer itself is fantastic. The half star was taken away for my print issues with the top not being the top of the enclosure not being optimized, and this LED. When I purchased when I purchased my printer back there, this LED was just listed LED, and then there was some video saying it would work with the camera and the 5M. Well, it doesn't. Not even close. There's no way to mount it or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I just got an email back from customer support. They kept sending me videos of the Pro and changing out the light on the Pro with the housing and everything. Yeah, yeah, that's really neat. That doesn't have it. And I got a camera. What's the sense of having a camera if you don't got good lighting? Excuse me. I don't care about the $15. Sending that back is going to cost me more than $15. That wasn't the point. It was at the time it did not say not for use or for the Pro only. So I just assumed, hey, no problem. It comes with no mounting harness. So I have been going, the after sales team, I told them that was the issue. And, the printing, and I said, hey, I got to learn how to print anyway, right? That's a setting. I got to learn how to print that top. And the infill on it, I didn't know anything about infill or any of that nonsense. I thought that again, in another video, if you're just joining me, in another video, I had a major print failure and I didn't know anything about infill, but that infill's, geez, no wonder it failed. And I didn't know about some hop setting, Z hop or anything like that. So on my next print, I'm going to change the infill and not waste nearly as much filament. My God, so much filament. Just well, the failure caused a lot, but just for one part, it was a huge amount. And I know there's one on printables or somewhere, but I do kind of want to finish up the one I paid for. I may end up switching it out for the printables one. Who knows? I'll probably print it and compare, see which one I like better. Um, well, I think I've spoken long enough this evening, and I hope I did a better job. I'm going to continue to strive to do better. And again, your mental health is very important no matter what job you do. Take care of yourself. Nobody else is gonna. All right. Have a good night. I hear the fire helicopter going over. Otto out.